And it's basically what they've done is they've taken the concept of I've been laid off as I am worthless, I'm not good at my job, and therefore it's a me issue. When actually here I am. And I'm like, no, my darling, it was never a you issue. The problem is you were playing a wrong game. You were playing the game of checkers in the game of chess. How were you expecting to win? But no one is here to tell you, because the yappers, the people who keep moving up and up in their career, not doing the right thing, but they play the game, they are gatekeeping it because they know it's their unfair advantage, because you have been trained to think one way when the world operates in another.
Hattie, once again, welcome to season 2 of this podcast.
Awesome to be here.
So we're going to be referencing episode 1 to learn more about yourself, what you're doing, what you're becoming famous for. Today, we're going to be covering a different topic, which is about today's crazy environment, especially in technology, where we're seeing a lot of layoff. So I would like this episode today to become a masterclass or a concrete path on what to do and what not to do in order to avoid getting fired, but also thriving within your career. How does that sound?
Yeah, let's do this.
Perfect. Let's start from having just a chat about marketing. Why do you think that this is one of the main functions that gets cut once the budget gets tight or there's a change in the air? Is it about perception? Is it about impact? What are your thoughts there?
There's so many different layers to this, from the CEO or whoever has decided the cuts, from private equity to VC to the funding. They have a short-term mentality. Usually they're looking for quick, immediate returns. So they're either looking for, let's boost our EBITDA for the year. Let's just showcase on the balance sheet that we're actually more profitable than we actually are. And therefore they do a round of layoffs to cut costs. So then they boost their profitability. And also it's the perception around marketing, where with sales, they understand that they put a $1 in, they get $2 out of the salespeople. So they see the immediate return. Once again, it's short-term thinking. When actually marketing, sometimes they don't see it as a quick return on investment. They see it as, okay, well, this is a long-term play, and we don't think about the long term because we're working towards 3-year, 5-year goals or whatever. So I think it's really the mentality of the culture and the people who are actually driving the organization. And I say this as an ex-CMO as well, which most people don't know. I was a chief marketing officer for a software company, as well as being a product marketing manager and a CEO. So I know the impact that these decisions have on the marketing team specifically. And we feel it the hardest because they see marketing as a cost center unless they see an immediate return. So product marketing, branding, they typically get the hardest hit. When it comes to demand gen or growth, they sometimes see that as, oh, we understand there are actual tangible metrics attached to growth and demand gen, where they're like, okay, well, we put $1,000 into ads and therefore we got 10,000 out. And that's the problem. I think it's more around, why is it that systemically these people who make these hiring and firing decisions, they typically think on the short term and not the long term? Why is the culture in tech breeding this as an environment when it should be more, what is the long-term impact we want to have, and how can we make sure that we don't disrupt our growth by disrupting the people inside of it, and therefore we keep it as a culture and we keep growing month on month. So I think it's a mix of the perception and the visibility of the marketing team, how we make sure that we relay our results, how we make sure we get a seat at the table and we vouch for ourselves as much as the sales team and the other department heads, and making sure that it's really understood from the ground up what impact marketing has. And if you turn it off, that the growth will stall. And I think a lot of CMOs or people who are like the VPs, directors, managers in marketing, maybe they're being a little bit too kind, and they need to have this ability to negotiate, ability to influence, and ability to communicate in a really clear but professional manner, so then it comes across. So I think that's really the crux of the issue. And the companies who are seeing marketing as a cost center versus a profit center are hopefully going to frigging die because they don't deserve to keep growing. So the ones who do invest in their people and they keep their people, they deserve to grow.
And from your experience and also the people you coach, do you see any kind of leading indicators or early signs that layoffs are in the air or that something is about to change? Is there anything that people should be looking for or paying attention to understand those early indicators?
There are a few ways. So leading indicators can come from, for example, if you have a private equity firm involved, then seeing how they have interacted with other companies that they've acquired or that they are in their portfolio. Or if it comes to seeing if there are cuts starting to be made within the managerial or the mid managerial range. Because if you start to see a reshuffle in the managers, it means that the new people who come in will typically want to reorganize their team. And especially if a acquisition has just been made. If an acquisition has just been made and you are either part of that company that's been acquired or the parent company that's been doing the acquiring, then you might want to think about, well, there's now two people who do the same role and one of us is about to get cut. So it's about how do you protect yourself in that position, but also seeing that as a leading indicator as to, okay, well, this is bound to happen at some point. So let me make sure that I put some guardrails in place for my own career so that people understand that I am super valuable here and I should not be the person who is cut. And then when it comes down to the vibe, I think intuition is a tool in our skill set in our tool set that is underutilized. And I think sometimes you can just sense a shift. You can sense that there's a little bit of a panic or something's going on, or they're keeping their eyes on the competitors a little bit more, or they've just raised another round of funding that has now led them to get a new investor who has a completely different mindset. And they come in and you're like, whoa, who is this dude? Like, this is completely different to how we've ever conducted ourselves. And then you start to feel a sense of a shift. So I think intuition, honestly, can sometimes be a leading indicator too. And if you have really trusted colleagues, what happened in the past with me, Ivan, was my colleagues, we would gossip. Usually it's the sales team somehow that they always know what's up on the ground. I don't know how, but the sales team always knows what's going on. And it was them who would be like, hey, by the way, Hattie, this is coming up. Like in February, they're going to do another round. And I'm like, right. Thanks for the heads up, mate. I'm going to get on it. And it's those little reliances on your relationships internally that can actually push you in the direction of being more stable as opposed to being reactive. My goal as a coach is always to make sure that someone is proactive in your career. It doesn't always happen. It doesn't always have to happen to you. It can happen for you in a way that if you have this leading indicator as to something's going on, there's a shift I can feel a shift and a sense of something in the air. Now's the time to act and put motions. Now's the time to act and put actions into motion. So then I can start to feel more stable here and I can start to protect myself. That at the end of the day is the plan of action.
Yeah, very interesting. And if we were to be very concrete here, there's a certain component which comes from the ELT or the board to see marketing as a cost center. We can influence that to a certain extent, but I believe the biggest influence is on how the actual marketers behave and act. And considering that, what are, in your opinion, the biggest mistakes that marketers are making so that they kept on being seen as a cost center rather than a profit center or revenue generators?
Yeah, this is a great question. There are many that I have seen across the hundreds of marketers that I have coached. And it's really so typically it starts off with who owns your career. So, what I've recognized amongst the best marketers, the people who are thriving in their career and they're moving up or they're getting promoted and they don't feel like they're being reactive to the environment that they're in, is they know that they should own their career from the inside out. The controllables that they do have, they should try and control it with every fiber of their being. So, for example, I had a director of product marketing come to me and she was like, Hattie, I'm nothing more than an order taker at this organization. I was brought in thinking that I would build out the product marketing function. The CEO understood product marketing when actually they just now just tell me what to do and I just have to trickle it down to my team. What do I do? Because I feel like I'm stagnating. I feel like I'm being undermined. And she was the only woman on the board, right? She was the only woman in the executive meetings in the executive suite. So I was like, okay, let's have an open and honest conversation of what's going on here. She's an older lady. So she was like, I think there's some sort of ageism going on. I was like, yeah, I recognize that. And we were speaking about, okay, there's ageism, sexism going on. How can we take those and now control what you can? And it's about what is it that within your control and within your organization that you're like, I can show up, I can communicate, I can start to learn the art of negotiation. I can start to really build myself up in my job, in my career, so then I can start to have the outcomes that I want. And this is a concept that Ivan, that I've taught on the Profitable PMM Challenge, which is the concept of be, do, have. And it's all around people who come to me and they're like, Hattie, I'm having such issues in my marketing job. Do I need to become a salesperson? Do I need to jump ship and do something else? Is marketing even for me? And I'm like, okay, what is it that you want out of your career? Have you ever just sat down and thought about what is it that you actually want at the depths of you? Is it to just get a salary and then go on luxurious holidays? Like, that's a great goal. Is it to get an amazing salary, keep moving up in your career, have a family of your dreams, and do that on the side? Like, is that the focus? And then off the back of that, it's like, okay, you want to have the family, the luxury holidays, the time off, the amazing, fulfilling career, doing the best work of your life, etc., etc. Now, it's everyone wants that. Everyone wants to be rich. Everyone wants to get the outcome of the greatest thing that they can get from their career. But let's work backwards now. Okay, so you want to have that. What do you need to do in order to get that? But the most important piece, which is always missing, like 99% of the time from the marketers that I speak to, is they haven't become the person who can then do the activities, who can then have the outcome that they want. And what I mean by this is, by the way, as you can probably tell, I'm a kind coach, but I'm not a nice coach. So brace yourself. And what I mean by that is I'm a kind coach that I will tell you what you need, not a nice coach who tells you what you want to hear. There's a stark difference. I think there's too many coaches, even ones that I've had in the past, who just told me what I want to hear, which was, "Hey, Hattie, you're doing great. Like, just keep going. Like, manifest your dreams. You're going to do amazing by proxy of just being me." And I'm like, no, tell me my gaps. So the gaps usually fundamentally lie in the being component. And this was me 5 years ago. Okay. 5 years ago, I felt completely undermined in my last American corp job in tech. And I had this micromanager who completely drove me into the ground. I was completely deflated, completely just, I was a shell of myself. I was so small. I used to cry on calls. I just didn't know how to battle my way out of it. And then I recognized, okay, what is it within my control that I can work on to become the person who I need to be in order to survive this environment? And it meant that I needed to work on my communication skills. So I took improv comedy lessons. My art of negotiation, I had none. The ability to sell. Like, you have to be able to sell in order to sell people into a concept or an idea to get them bought in. If you want people bought in on your projects, especially if you're, let's say, one marketer versus 10, 20, 30 other marketers in the organization, and they have their own goals, and you're all working to the same pool of resources, how do you get people bought into your project so they give you the time of day, so they're bought in, so then they move you forward and your project forward? So it's the becoming part that is usually the biggest challenge that most people have. And I do have a masterclass all on the 5 biggest career mistakes that PMMs make if you're interested. I'm sure there'll be a link below somewhere. But the main one that I've seen time and time again, Ivan, is like the being component. It's who they are. And it's how do we install skills like a piece of software to make you the strongest Power Ranger in your organization. So you just have so many different skill sets and tool sets that you can use at your disposal. So Most of the times I see marketers and they speak to me and they're in my DMs because put a lot of content out and they're like, I have to jump ship. I need to leave this organization. It's driving me nuts. And then I see a disparity between two paths. The first path is this a environment that is toxic, that is impacting your mental health, that you actually need to get the heck out of there tomorrow? If yes, leave and don't look back and let's find you a new job. Or is it the second, where it's like, actually, there are individual components or individual people, or maybe a specific season in time where you're like, I absolutely hate it, but on the whole, I love it. So it's like the individual versus on the whole. On the whole, frigging leave. If it's individual, now I see this as a growth moment, a growth opportunity. So most people in my DMs are like, I need to leave because this is happening. I'm like, no. Let's unpack this. Because if there's an opportunity here where actually on the whole, this organization is amazing. You get the salary of your dreams. You have all of the perks and the bonuses that you love. You get all the time off in the PTO. It's in your realm of interest or speciality. You love it, but there are certain components that are difficult. Let's work you through this, because if you work through this, what you're doing is you're building up new synapses in your brain to say, I was able to overcome that really hard predicament that I found myself in at work. And therefore, like a Power Ranger, I'm getting stronger because of it. I've now become a stronger, more resilient marketer who then you can take that skill, experience into your next job or into your next level in your career, and you just keep moving up and up and up. So that's the difference when I say, as a kind coach, there are some environments you need to go. They need to go to the depths of hell. And then there are others where like, this is an opportunity for growth. You might not see it now. It might be painful now. And I feel you. Like, my darling, I feel you. It's so, the amount of stories that I hear is just wild. The challenges that marketers specifically go through is frigging insane. It's not like any other department. They cannot relate. And it's the organizations who understand the fundamental principles of marketing and how important it is that they invest in their marketing team, and then they see insane results because of it. And it's the ones who don't allow these marketers to literally come out of their organization with PTSD and so many issues. And it's coaches like me who have to help them, because I'm like, well, you haven't done a good enough job in actually serving the people who are there to serve your organization. And it's wild to me. But there are ways to come back from that. And what's funny is you can come back from those environments, out of those circumstances rather, really fast. So some people are like, do I need to spend a year or a couple years building up these skills? And I'm like, dude, no. It can literally be in the matter of months. It might seem absolutely insane, but I know through my own life I did it, because with that micromanager that I had who made me feel this small, Ivan, tiny, I turned things around within 3 months. It felt like the tide was turning within a month and a half. Out of a few years of putting up with this person, within 3 months, I turned it around like that, because I worked on these skills, and then I started to build up my visibility internally, my perception, the respect factor, the trust factor for me. And then I started to become the person that everyone wanted to work with, everyone loved. And my micromanager had to respect me, even though I don't know what his issue was, but there was something clearly underlining there that he had out for me. And some people have that, whether it's like you're young, you're a different race to another person, you speak a different language, like whatever. There are biases that exist in every organization. Unfortunately, that's just the flaw of human nature, especially in tech, where in tech we have a lot of amazing diversity, but with the pressure that, as you said at the start of this podcast, that the market has, the competition, the rise of AI, the pressure is being trickled down from human to human to human to human. And then it rises that either the biases or their points of view, and everyone at the top thinks everyone at the bottom is lazy. I have never, and tell me if you have, Ivan, I have never met someone in C-suite or an executive who's like, everyone at the bottom is putting in 100% of what they can.
That's so true. There are a couple of things that you said which really resonated, and I would like to zoom in here. The first one is about becoming. So you talked about the skills that you were lacking or where you needed improvement in order to become a stronger leader? You talked about negotiation, about leadership, about communication. So for people that have been through layoff rounds, who experience toxic environments, so people that have been burned through their career, is there a sequence of skills to master or to prioritize to get you from a simple, let's say, executor all the way to an influential leader that gets the attention and the impact that it deserves?
100% there are steps and it works every time. And you know this, Ivan. I know why you're asking this because you were on my Profitable PMM challenge. So you know that there are steps and they work, right?
Yeah, you got me.
There we
Should
go.
we should we list which are the key skill sets or milestones to master in sequence?
Yeah. So as I mentioned, it really does start the fundamentals with be, do, have. Okay. So once you recognize, and I've had marketers, especially product marketing managers, who have said to me, I've been laid off literally 4 or 5 times in the last 3 years. That's what they've said. And I'm like, okay, now there's clearly a pattern, unfortunately. Now, it might not be down to you, it might not be fair, but there is a pattern and it's about breaking it down. And the steps usually involve what is it that was consistent amongst all of the 4, 5 organizations that you can take as a lesson and a learning point? Was it the fact that you were too busy heads down doing the work, that you never even looked up, that you didn't invest in yourself outside of work, that you only used the maximum L&D budget and that was all? It blows my mind that there are people, unfortunately, who have been trained to think by their employers that they should only use the maximum learning and development budget for the year and not their personal salary towards their own growth. Because what they're doing is they're capping their growth at the rate of the amount of money that they get from their employer in their
If there
L&D
is
budget.
any.
If there is any, which in some organizations there isn't. So then what does that mean? It means that the rate of growth is really slow, in particular people, when it comes to other people who are constantly investing in themselves, using their salary to invest in themselves to build up the skills and to recognize, okay, there was a particular pattern. I was just doing the heads down work. People didn't even know my name or understood what I was doing. Or I was just so busy in my little box. And I know this because I'm a natural introvert, believe it or not. I'm a natural introvert. And the biggest issues that I always saw in my American corp job was when I was head down doing the work and I wasn't interacting with people or building out my strategic visibility, which is a concept that I teach my clients. And it's that that's super important. It's about recognizing where are the flaws, what are the things that you're doing that actually isn't serving you, but it's serving the organization. Different. What's serving you versus what's serving the organization? Because there is at no point that I ever want a marketer to be let go from an organization and they're like, wow, I literally gave up my personal time for that organization. I gave up my kids' baseball league. I gave up my holiday. I gave up my weekends sometimes. I gave up time with my wife or my husband. I gave up my mental health for this organization. And I was so busy working for them that I wasn't busy working for me. And therefore, you're shooting yourself in the foot. So in some ways, step number 1 is unfortunately radical ownership. And I think what's a blessing, because I didn't actually intend to go down the coaching route. I just naturally motivate people to get their stuff together. What's interesting is I think as a proxy, everyone who's around me is like, I'm no longer a victim. That organization sucks. Forget about them. And then it's a case of installing the belief of for the next time that you enter into an organization, you are not going to do what didn't serve you. You are going to do what serves you and what serves the organization. So it's no longer the separate, it's about the two. But making sure that it's in that order serves you and the organization.
Is there any question that I can ask myself to make sure that I'm taking the ownership and I'm serving myself first?
So if you really want to learn how to take the ownership, I would recommend you ask either someone that you trust, either in your family or your friends, ask them, where was I going wrong? Or what did you recognize about me doing that? Or you ask your colleagues, your previous colleagues or someone that you trust, where do you think I could have improved? Because sometimes, Ivan, a lot of people, they don't know what they don't know, and it has to take an outside person in order to tell them what's going on. So one thing that I recognize is a lot of people are playing the game of checkers in a game of chess. Your organization is playing a game of chess, and you are there playing checkers, and you are never going to win if you are playing a different game to what they are doing. This is why, and people can put it in the comments, have you ever worked with someone who talks a big game, does nothing, but keeps moving up and up in their career? Have you, Ivan?
Yeah, and we talked about that in our last conversation as well, and privately. And it's something that surprises a lot of people, including myself, honestly. And it's important, as you said, to understand the rules of the game in order to play the game and to win the game. Because the rules are not always the same. They change from environment to environment. So you might be used to a certain environment and instructions and rules. And then once you change, you adopt the same rules, but that might not be the case.
And you hit the nail on the head. This is why we've spoken about that. And this is why you brought me on here to speak about it to your listeners, because it's so important. Because step 3 is you've got to play the right game. Otherwise, you're playing a game that you're naturally going to lose because no one else is playing it. Everyone else is playing a different game. This is why, like you said, if a person enters into their 4th, 5th, 6th organization and they're like, I've just been let go again. And then what they do is, Ivan, they will go in introspection, but in a negative and wrong way. So here's what they will do ahead of speaking to me. They'll go, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't even know if I'm doing the right thing. Am I even a marketer? What are other marketers doing? Do I need to take another certification? Do I need to go back to school? What do I need to learn? And it's basically what they've done is they've taken the concept of I've been laid off as I am worthless. I'm not good at my job, and therefore it's a me issue. When actually here I am. And I'm like, no, my darling, it was never a you issue. The problem is you were playing a wrong game. You were playing the game of checkers in the game of chess. How were you expecting to win? But no one is here to tell you, because the yappers, the people who keep moving up and up in their career, not doing the right thing, but they play the game, they are gatekeeping it because they know it's their unfair advantage, because you have been trained to think one way when the world operates in another. And it's not fair, and it's not pleasant, and it's not fun. Ivan, the amount of people who've turned around to me and they say, Hattie, I wish I didn't have to play this game. Why do I even have to play this game? I hate it. And I'm like, me too. I hate it too. But the game is playing whether you play or not. So what do you want to do? Because the game of chess is playing, the pieces are moving. So are you going to play or not? Because if you're not, then unfortunately, it's the victim. Life is happening to me. I don't know what I'm doing. Blah, blah, blah. Be sympathetic towards me. I'm reactive to my career. I've been let go for a 6th time. That burnout loop is going to continue. It's a perpetual cycle of burnout, where it's like you join a new organization, everything's great, you're doing amazing, everyone loves you. All of a sudden, a couple months in, people are undermining you. They want things faster. You're overloaded. You're emotionally like, what is happening? You start rage applying to other jobs. You're like, I need therapy. I need coaching. I don't know what to do. And then you quit your job. You start a new job. Everything's great. And then the loop continues and you're stuck forever. Because God willing, you have 20, 30, 40 years of good health and work and career ahead of you. My question is, how many times do you want to go through that loop until you decide I want to break it and break it for friggin' good? When it comes down to that radical ownership in breaking that loop is when you can start to play the game effectively. And what's wild is once you start playing the game, you actually do less work. You actually have more fun. You get more connections that you can use throughout your life. You build up your visibility in a way that feels natural, not fake. You don't have to be a LinkedIn influencer or a guru. You're just being you, but more people know about you and your amazing self. And you clock off at the end of the day knowing that was an amazing week and I can breathe because I feel solid in the fact that even if there was a layoff coming up, I am good. And this is how, in my last organization, Ivan, even with that micromanager who I know to the depths of my soul was not Team Hattie. He was not. Everyone else was. He was not. I don't know why. I'll leave it to him and his God. But there were 5 rounds of layoffs and I survived every one until I finally quit because I was done and I've gone down this route. But I knew with 99% certainty, Ivan, that with every round of layoff that was announced, my emotional regulation was there. I was good because I'm like, I know that I've played an amazing game of chess and I've done amazing work and I'm solid. If I was a betting woman, I would bet on me every time. And this is what I want to instill in every marketer. Bet on you every time, but make sure that you're setting yourself up for success. And if anyone is listening and you're like, well, you've got to do the work and, but like my manager's telling me what to do and I've just got to do what they say and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that belief or that thought process comes out of people pleasing. It comes out of something deeper in you that maybe hasn't been unpacked, if ever. And this is what's wild. And you can vouch for this, which is I attract clients who are literally junior all the way up to 30, 40 years in the game, in their 50s and 60s. Across the spectrum. This is not a junior issue. This is not a mid-level issue. This is not a senior issue or a C-suite issue or a PE issue. This is across the board because whether you know it, brace yourself for this, whether you know it or not, you have been trained from a young age to be compliant with being a people pleaser. If you're a girl like me, if you're a woman, when you're a girl, you need to be the good girl, to say yes, to behave, to not speak unprompted, to sit and listen, to do as you're told. When you enter into school, this is for both sexes. When you enter into school, you're being told to listen to a teacher, to sit, to be quiet, to do as you're told. When you get into work, the same thing. Sit, be quiet, do as you're told. You've just been trained to do one way of life and one way of a career that isn't serving you. So if you can imagine and think to yourself, who is it that's absolutely crushing it in our organization? They are typically falling into the opposite of that. They are not sitting there quiet. They are not doing as they're told, and they're not waiting for someone else in order to speak. Think about it. Just one person that you work with who's crushing it. And that's how you know it's correct. 100% of the time it's correct. And I know this, it's not because it's because there's a system happening and a game that's being played. So you can find yourself 30, 40, 50 years old, 60 years old, and finally break it. Or you can break it right now. It depends. It's up to you.
Let's break it right now. So
Okay.
from what I understood, being a people pleaser, it's not something that's serving you in a company or corporate environment, regardless of the fact that you've been told for most of your life to act this way. So how do you break the loop in a professional and constructive way so that it moves you forward rather than backwards?
So there's a few steps that you need to take. The first is believing that you're worth investing in. Believing that you're worth investing in. Because there's a lot of people who have a common belief that their kids are worth investing in, or their partner is, or they'll buy other people gifts, or they'll buy experiences for other people. But when it comes to, well, how do you treat yourself? And they're like, oh, forget about me. I'm on the back burner. I'm the last on the list. And it's like the analogy of put your mask on first before you put on your child's is true for a reason. But everyone that I've spoken to who have like crucial issues in their career where they're like, I don't even know what to do. Like, I'm done with this crap, especially in tech. They're like, I'm done. How do I even be a marketer in this environment? It's like, talk to me about how you put your mask on first. And there's nothing in their personal life and their business life. They're putting other people ahead of them. So the first step is making sure that you're like, actually, now's the time for me. If I don't look after me, then my household doesn't get fed. or I don't get fed, or I don't have a great career that I'm like, I had a great life. Where hopefully when you're 80, 90, 120 years old and you're looking back and you're like, holy crap, I had a great life. One thing I like is, I don't know whether it's actually from Jeff Bezos, but it's around regret minimization. And I love the concept of imagining yourself when you're at an older age and what is it that you would love to minimize the regret on? And what I recognize, because I have a lot of friends who are in their 50s, 60s up, because they have unwavering personalities, and I am one of them. What I recognized about them was one day they were like, F it, I'm just going to be me. This is why, do you ever really meet an older people pleaser? Rarely. Very
Yeah.
rarely. Yeah, very rarely. Because they're like, I'm just going to be me. It's the end of my life or whatever. Not like, I don't believe that. But it's like, it's the end of my life. I'm just going to be me. I'm going to wear what I want. I'm going to sweat. I'm going to do whatever. So in my head, I'm like, how can I bring that forwards? That radical ownership, that radical, I love me. I'm going to be me in the world. There's only one of me. Let me frigging be that me. And if you can show up with that energy in your work, in your personal life, but be like, I'm not going to limit myself to just L&D budget or whatever someone else dictates. I'm going to invest in me hard. Then the second step is do the work. Even the amount of people that I meet who have all the courses, who have all the certifications, all the freaking books, and they don't complete them. All the ebooks, they're in their drives, they're in their downloads folder, and they don't do it. They don't complete it. And I'm like, whether you recognize it or not, this is still you holding you back. This
Yeah.
is still you feeling like either I'm not worthy or I by osmosis have, because I bought it, now I am that person, which is fine, but you need to do the work. And the work, as anyone who's done therapy or work on themselves or installed a skill or has taken up a new hobby like tennis, at the start it frigging sucks, dude. Like playing tennis, your arm sore, your glutes, and you're like, I hate this. But the outfits were cute and you're like, yay, that was fun. But then you go, the weeks, over, until one day you're like, I know this like the back of my handswing. Like, this is great. It's the doing part. What I've recognized amongst people, whether they are consultants who I do coach as well, or employees, is the ones who absolutely win move at the speed of light. If they get a book, they read the book. If they get the certification of the course, they do the work because they're like, I'm going to fail forwards and upwards at the same time. And if you keep being that person who's like, life is a playground, I'm a child in an adult's body, I'm just going to F around and find out, and I'm just going to try, because actually I recognize that no one knows what they're doing, including my C-suite, including my private equity. Absolutely no one on this planet understands or knows what they're doing. And therefore, I'm just going to treat this like a playground and see the amazing person I can be out of this. So it's doing the work. And this
It's
sounds
similar.
simple.
It's similar to the execution when it comes to companies. So often it's not the best idea.
There's banging even. Okay,
Yeah,
go
they
now.
stopped drilling and now they started banging. So let's now become profitable. So you talked about the profitable product marketing challenge. The keyword profitable, I think it stood out a lot. It's something that you don't hear frequently when it comes to the profitability of a person. But I think it's very much spot on to help, in this case, product marketers be seen and perceived as growth revenue generators rather than cost centers. So how does a marketing professional become profitable?
Yeah, great question. And I love it because also you've been on the challenge, so you have a different take on it. But the challenge came about with being profitable in your career or in a consultancy. So you can be a marketer who, when you're employed, yes, it's about how to become profitable, how to get promoted, paid bonuses, raises, and you don't have to wait for performance season. You can actually get it outside of it. That's the thing. Again, we're playing a game of chess, not a game of checkers. So it's all around, how do you make sure that you are building up your career and the salary that you actually want? What's wild is I through a London PMM event specifically. So I throw product marketing events specifically, but growth marketers, PMMs, I mean, product managers come along, like it's open, right? Now, I had a PMM who's based up north in the UK say on a post of mine on LinkedIn that, hey, 40K salary is actually really good up here in the north. And I'm like, because I was in a thread with a recruiter saying that is not enough. Like 40K for product marketing for a multi-million, if not 100 million plus ARR product that this product marketer is working on, regardless of where they work, is not enough. And this PMM was like, but we get paid 40K up here, it's fine, like blah, blah. So at this event, at this London event, I say this story. And I said, it's okay if they want to be poor, but when it comes down to it, they are not a profitable PMM. They are not profitable. So at that point, I personally see it as, are you doing charity work for this for-profit software company where you're in the best industry right now, where the two best industries right now are finance or tech? And now's the right for you to be earning as much money as possible because these two industries are hyper invested in. There's a lot of money circulating in tech and in finance. So if you are in either one of these industries, why are you not earning a lot of money? It's kind of like being in a gold rush and you're okay owning the spade. Why are you not focusing on the gold? So I said this. And then there were two product marketing managers in a room, London based, who were on K a year. And they DM'd me and they said, you need to help me get out of this. I need to be profitable. They were like, I have no idea because I'm very open with my community around salary. I kind of, at these events, I have the panelists share what their salary is or what salaries they're seeing. Every time, Ivan, 100K, 200K up. I've had Americans turn around to me online and say, Hattie, that's nonsense. You can't earn K in these locations. And I'm like, meet Sarah. She's one of my clients. She's on 240. Meet Jonathan. He's on 210. You are holding yourself back in your own limiting belief. And the profitability of your career should be serving you. Again, let's come back to it. The real focus. It should be serving you and the life and the lifestyle and the family. I don't ever want one of my frigging clients, whether you're in product marketing, marketing in general, I have growth marketers who are my clients, whoever. I don't ever want one of them to turn around to me and say, Hattie, I had to put my child in the school that we could only afford versus the one I actually wanted. I could only take the holiday that we could afford, or my partner is out of work and therefore we are strapped for money right now. We're actually just breaking even. Or one of my clients, she came to me and she was like, I'm in debt. Like I'm in heavy debt and I don't know how to break out of this, even though I'm working all the hours at this organization. How do I do this? So then it becomes around the profitability of your career, because the goal isn't for you, once again, to just be serving these organizations, being as cheap as possible and not being paid for the incredible value you're providing them, which, as we mentioned at the start of this podcast, maybe this organization doesn't understand the true value, the true ROI of marketing. And maybe that needs to be addressed. Maybe you need to do that grunt work. Maybe they need to understand who you are, the impact you're having. But the only way that they understand is if you open your mouth and you say it. That is the only way. So yeah, the challenge that I run through, the profitable PMM challenge that anyone can go on there, if you're a marketer, jump on it, is a week of just unpacking this and getting you back on track to getting promoted, to getting paid, to being profitable, whether an employee or a consultant. It works. The system works.
And in this case, are we separating the profitability as a person, as a professional, from the profitability of an employee inside the company? Or do they go hand in hand? Which means that the more profitable you are as an individual, the skill set and the value that you bring to the company accelerates the profitability of the company. So are those two components going forward in the same way? Or are they two separate tracks and they don't influence each other?
They definitely 100% influence each other. 100%. Because it's like saying, I want to be fit, but I eat McDonald's every day. It's what you do in the dark that comes to light at work. It's the being component. It's how you're working on that shows up in the doing and the having. So it's all around, how do I instill the skills and become the person and invest in myself and do these things outside of work or during work hours in order for me to add value to this organization, but also add value to me. Because the more value that you add to an organization, whether you're an employee or a consultant, the more you earn out of it, especially if you're a consultant. Because as a consultant, if you can add $1 million in additional runway or additional pipeline to an organization, you can then charge $100K. If you make them 10 million, you can then charge $1 million, like 10 to 1 in value. So if you're adding a ton of value to an organization and you're an employee, what they'll typically think is, well, you're an employee. Why should we pay you? This is your job. So then it now rests on your shoulders to not be like every other person playing checkers and to be the person who's like, okay, how do I then vouch for myself, open up my mouth and share it in the most concise, compelling way that actually gets throughput and people bought in and saying like, we cannot afford to lose this person. They're no longer a cost. They are such a profit center that we cannot afford to lose this person and we cannot afford to lose them to our competition. Imagine if they lost you to their competition. So what you've done is you've made yourself so valuable, but also you made people aware of your value. And this is why I provide people with scripts, talk tracks, actual scripts that you can say. Because some people are like, well, how do I say it? What do I do? And that's when it starts to overthink and then procrastination kicks in. And then all of a sudden you're back to doing the work and then a layoff happens and you're cut. And it's like, it's so frustrating to be in that environment. And I totally get it because I was there. And I've coached hundreds of people through this because it's so common. It sucks. But marketers have to do that. And it's so interlinked that if you try to convince yourself it's not, it's actually you self-sabotaging yourself. And it's actually maybe even you giving yourself an excuse to rest and watch Netflix in your spare time and, do nothing, which I believe in rest. Like I love actually resting and going on holiday or even just watching Netflix. That's great. But it's about where are the moments or the times that you can invest in you to make sure that you are armoring yourself to become stronger, to add value to not only yourself, but the organization. But you added such value to you that you're like, I can go to any organization in my field, in my industry, in my geographical location, or even abroad, and I can be that person. Because there are people who are on work visas abroad who are reliant on that organization to keep them in the country. I know one marketer, unfortunately, and this is the most devastating story, where he just had a baby with his wife here in London, was absolutely crushing it in his job. A large organization, they did a round of layoffs, and he had the hardest time finding a new company that would want to do sponsorship for him. It led to me coaching him through this process. We actually landed him a job at an AI company, but unfortunately, my client, he didn't do what is like the number one thing that I tell my clients to do, which is tell them that you need sponsorship. So he never told me this. I was coaching him through the entire process to get a job. He landed a job. And then he said, Hattie, by the way, I didn't tell them that I need my visa sponsored. And I'm like, there are a few people you should never lie to. You should never lie to your therapist, your coach, and a lawyer. And I'm your coach, man. Like, I'm on your team, dude. Why didn't you tell me this, man? Oh, so then what happened was it got to the end of like the duration in which he could be in the UK. And unfortunately, he's had to go back to Nigeria with his baby and his wife. Now, what's great is he's actually loving it out there. He's loving it. He's loving his life. He's no longer in tech, but he's in banking. He's freaking loving it. So I'm like, phew, like, my goodness. But when it comes down to these make or break moments, it's like I cannot foresee someone in this make or break moment taking this lightly. And this is why I say this with veracity. I say this with passion. And most people don't speak like this with passion because I know the detrimental effect, the knock-on effect it can have to your wife, to your baby, to the people involved, to your living circumstances. You have to up and move, like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Let's try and mitigate that happening. Let's mitigate you being fired. Let's stop it. as much as possible. Obviously, you can't control everything, but you can control the controllables. So that's the important piece. And dude, the stories I can tell, they go on and on and on. I think this would be like a 5-hour podcast.
I can imagine. If we were to make this even more real, what are the metrics, if we think in terms of KPIs or actual numbers, that can give us an indicator whether we're becoming more profitable, whether we're helping the company generate more pipeline revenue, ARR, and so on? So if we were to boil it down to one or two metrics, what are the most important for you?
Yeah. So the metrics that I would recommend you focus on are number one, what is it that your business cares about? What is the metric, the North Star that they've set for either the quarter or the year? That needs to be your North Star as well. Then the second is money in the bank. Like money in the bank, which is what is your salary and what is your goal salary? And will it come for a promotion, a bonus, a raise? How is it coming? Is it in terms of RSUs? So that's stocks. Like break it down. What is your goal number and how do you get there? And then the third, the KPI that I think is really crucial is all around, do your stakeholders know you? How many know you? What's your network internally like? Because that's super important because you want people to vouch for you. You want people to vouch for you in performance season, in your annual reviews, even on your LinkedIn recommendations. If you're going to be applying for a new job and they need referrals, you want people vouching for you. You want people saying good things. And here's the definition of a personal brand. A personal brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I know that there are people who want to be like, okay, well, let's focus on product adoption and these metrics and that metrics. If you're not focused on what is my personal KPI of how many people would say really good things about me when I'm not in the room, that dictates how strong your personal brand is internally and externally to where you work. And it's all around that. Because if you have strong networks, they can get you into jobs that haven't even landed on the market. A VP of marketing that I know hasn't applied for a job in San Francisco in 12 plus years. Never. She hasn't updated her CV. She doesn't even have one. She told me, Hattie, all I need to do is make sure I do great work, I speak to people, and I meet people frequently. She loves to do one-to-ones. I, on the other hand, I'm one-to-many. I'm very much a one-to-many person. This is why 45K plus followers on LinkedIn. I keep building out my reputation. I'm one-to-many. She, one-to-one in San Fran. So she gets to land 400K salary without barely applying. No CV. They know her by reputation, by name. Imagine that was you, because the people who are focusing on the KPIs like product adoption and churn rate and blah, 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 they're so busy doing the work that they're not actually doing what will move them towards their actual outcome and their actual goal, which is, I want to live an amazing life. And there are people, listen to me now, and your brain might be like, I don't believe it, but this is truth. There are marketers in the world earning 300, 400K. Fact. And I've seen it. And they don't even have to be VPs either, but I've seen it. Whether it's through salary, bonuses, stocks, it's a thing. So whether your brain wants you to allow it to motivate you, whether it wants to allow it to stagnate you and get back into the weeds, that's the difference there. So when it comes to work, yes, focus on what is the North Star. Are we going after more business, more pipeline, more revenue, etc.? And I say that as a CEO and a CMO of tech companies in the past. So I know that is obviously the North Star, but equally, what is your personal goal out of it? What do you want out of your career?
It's a very useful conversation. I was trying to think if we were to put ourselves in the shoes of the person you mentioned who was earning 40, 50K and hearing that we're out there in the world marketing professionals who are earning 10 times this. The gap feels so big that it's almost unachievable, or it's hard to create well-defined path to get there. So how does someone move the first steps towards this direction when the destination or the objective feels so far and unreachable?
Yeah, phenomenal question. So here's the story that I love, which is there are cars out there that cost 30K. There are cars that cost 2K. And then there are cars that are 3 million. What's the difference? Is it the fact that the $3 million car has 100 times better wheels, or they're 100 times rounder, or 100 times faster? No. What's the difference? It's all in their perceived value. Perceived value. This is why a Birkin bag can be 50K and a bag from Walmart or whatever can be 30. So how do we shift that perceived value? I'm going to be a broken record. First starts with you. Starts with you. Because if you're like, well, I'm not good enough and I don't know, or I'm junior or whatever. And bear in mind, I help directors who also think they're still junior. They still have this. It's a hang up. There's a belief there that needs to be broken to shreds, like in parts. Because I would insist upon you. How many books have you read on your topic? How many courses have you actually completed in your subject matter? How many years have you been in your profession? How many conferences have you gone to? How much have you actually put into your work and specializing in what you do? And I would propose to you, it's probably over 10,000 hours. And the whole saying of you are a professional after 10,000 hours is true to the majority of people I speak to. It's just a hang up. It's just because you haven't seen it, you don't believe it. But I'm telling you, once you see it, you believe it. And the only way, here's a writer downer, the fastest and only way to truly get over this, so you're at the 30K level, you go up to 300 in your mind and your belief system, is by being in a community with other people who are at that level. Because Ivan, you know my coaches. I've spent $21,000 on my coach this year with a man called Omar, and I'm in this coaching program with millionaires. My coach is a multimillionaire who's made his multi-millions literally in the last 2 years. His coach is a multi-millionaire. I'm amongst these people daily. I'm saying daily, right? And bear in mind, my cap in my previous job in American Corp I was at 140K for the year. Dollars. So the imagination that I had, which was like, whoa, like you can earn $1 million, that's wild. And then even before that, like when I was dating, so my ex, he's a famous software developer, and all of his friends were just also very known software developers on the conference scene. They would do talks. They were amazing. Dude, they were all on K salaries, these software developers, within Meta, within Cloudflare, within GitHub, etc. Okay, like nothing. They would say it to me because I'd be like, "So what are you on?" And they'd be like, 500. And I was like, "Oh, okay." What? Like my brain was being broken. But if I read this on ChatGPT or in Silo or on TV or in a book, I'd be like, nah, no way. But because I saw the whites of their eyes and the people in front of me, and I was in a community of them and I was around them, and even now I'm paying 21K for my coaching experience with my business coach, and I'm around multimillionaires who hit me up on WhatsApp and we're constantly speaking. What it will do is you will become the average of the 5 and you will move up by osmosis, because there's no other way to actually get you to truly believe it, especially if you're stubborn like me. Like, I'm fairly stubborn. And if you're anything like me and you're like, nah, I don't believe it, I'm a skeptic, I'll have to see it until I believe it. Well, go see it. Go see it. Because that's what I needed. I needed to pay to invest in me to see it. And now that I see it, I cannot unsee it, Ivan. And it was the same as these people at my event. Once they saw it, once they saw my panelists speaking about their salaries, and then I was like, 40K is not enough. And my panelists were agreeing with me. And they were like, how do you even live in London on 40K? That's absurd. There was a shift in their brain that has never happened before. And that's why they DM'd me literally 9 p.m. that night, 2 of them. a man and a lady. They were like, thank you so much because you woke me up from a slumber I didn't even know I was in. I was hypnotized. I was kind of like indoctrinated. I didn't even know I was in this sleep. I was in a slumber. And then you come along and you say the truth, whether I wanted to hear it that evening or not. But you said it, and thank you because I'm now going to take action. And that is, at the end of the day, the only way you can frigging change your life. If you want to get up to the 100K mark, that is how you do it. And product managers right now, interestingly enough, I know this is all around marketers, but product managers in AI, some of them are earning $1 million a year at some organizations. It's been stated in reputable articles about these people.
Yeah,
You can
so
watch
that.
videos. Yeah, I've seen it too. It's there, right? But Ivan, imagine if you said that to one of your friends, someone, a product manager at an AI company or AI PM is earning $1 million, and they're like, no way, no way. But then imagine you meet them, or you watch a YouTube video, or you're in a community of them, and they are saying this, and they're showcasing and breaking it down. They're saying, this is how I've done it. Learn from me. But you have to invest in yourself to get in those rooms. If you're sitting on the couch, unfortunately, this information will not find you, whether it's virtual or in real life. It's about being in the room. As Hamilton, the musical says, you got to be in the room, want to be in the room. So that's how you get from the 30K a year or 40K up until 300. It's starting with your belief first. So once you believe it, you act. Because you're like, that, other people are doing it. And here's something I'll leave with you, which is, if another person has done it, it means that you can too. You are not different. You are human like they are. Sure, they might have had some things go in their favor potentially, or maybe they came from wealth, maybe. But even so, there are people who are underdogs, rags to riches. They freaking make it. They do it. And I know this as a daughter of a baker and a cleaner who came from poverty, who now I would say I'm fairly successful. I'm still ambitious, but if other people have done it, I tell myself every day, if they have done it, my friends, multimillionaires, if they could do it, so can I. And if there are other people who are on 300K doing the exact same work as you, the same hours as you, in a job just like you, they've just done something differently to land their job, or have the skill sets, or have the traits, or have things that they've learned, or maybe it's come naturally that you might have to pay in order to learn. But isn't it worth doing? Because once you know the information, once you've learned it, you can use it forever. So when people turn around to me and they're like, Hattie, what the heck? You spent 21K with one coach? That's like a house deposit. And I'm like, I know. It's the best ROI. Why? It's because I learn it once and I use it forever. I've paid, I've invested in myself to learn this now once, and I can use it forever. And I've sped it up by 10 years. I didn't have to do what he did for the last 10 years in figuring it out. I can now get into it, understand it, learn everything that I need, download it into my brain under this curly hair of mine, and just keep moving on. And you can too. But it starts with the noggin, the head, the belief.
Nice. Let's put this into context just to wrap up at the end. I would like to hear from you. We are at the beginning of 2026. The next few months or years are going to be transformational because of the market uncertainties, the evolution of AI, the company cultures, and so many other variables. So if you were to carve a path for the next 2 to 3 years in order to put in practice and achieve everything that we talked about during this podcast, what would you focus on? And what are the key actions that you would start taking immediately in order to get you into this trajectory?
Yeah. Step 1 would be doing a self-audit. So you want to conduct a self-audit on yourself to find out what are your flaws and what are your strengths. So what I'd recommend doing is looking back on last year. Look back on last year and say what actually served me and what actually held me back or I can improve upon. Because if you start to now gamify the fact that you can improve upon your flaws, then you can start to build a stronger resilience in yourself moving forwards. Step number 2 is who do I need to meet, or what communities do I need to join, or what are the people that can potentially be my career's ICP? So you have your ICP in your job, which is your ideal customer profile, but who is your career's ideal customer profile? Meaning, what is your goal and who can get you there? So if you figure out who is your career's ICP based on your goal, then you can start to mingle with them and network with them and create genuine relationships that will move you forward. Either one-to-one, like the VP of marketing that I mentioned earlier, or one-to-many, like I'm doing. And then the third is making sure you invest in learning more about AI in anything that comes up, anything that's going to move you forward, because you don't want to be the blockbuster when Netflix is about to come out. You want to keep moving where the market is moving and keep upskilling where is needed, whether it be in you as a person or the hard skills. And I'm telling you, my bet is going to be the soft skills are going to be what will make you differentiated in the market in 2, 3, 5 years' time. Where if we now move away from school and university and college, the concept of that was to download the information that you as a person would have built in the value of you, where your value was the information that you had in your head from school, from education, from etc. But actually, you now become a director of AI tools that already has the knowledge. So you already become the director of AI tools that already has the knowledge, then it actually becomes even more valuable for you to have the soft skills. And if I was a betting woman, I would say it's the people who take the time to learn the soft skills and they're able to bring that to the forefront of their work and then be ultra efficient in how you utilize the tools or the information at hand or the market research at hand or consulting at hand to then make the right decisions over and over and over, and then doing the most effective work, which is, to me, unpacking the biggest constraint. It's about unpacking the biggest constraint in you as a person for your self-audit, and then unpacking the biggest constraint in the organization so then you know where to utilize your time and resources and effectiveness to do really good marketing work. That is what I would say with my CMO hat on, because I built out my marketing team in the past and we were so freaking successful. We added millions in revenue within just 2 years I was there. It was insane. It was just about focusing on unpacking the biggest constraint and adding tons of value, making sure you do that over and over and over. And see it as a game, a playful activity. This is not boring. This is not, "Oh, I have to go work on me. I have to go read this. I have to. Replace I have to with I get to. Because without being woo-woo, but I truly believe as a Christian that we have this one life here in order to really reflect everything that we were built in our skill sets, in who we are, in what we're meant to do, in who we're here to help, who we're here to serve. And we're here to serve people at the highest level. So I truly believe your life is a gift. This is why I'm such a big fan of humans. I'm backing us as marketers. I have our backs fiercely and passionately because you're here for a reason, in my opinion, regardless of what you believe. So you get to do this and you don't have to do this. And otherwise, just enjoy your marketing career. Like, I truly believe marketing is the best department ever in tech and worldwide in any industry. So enjoy the fact that you're part of winners, and we just have to do the legwork of educating the market a little bit better. But you're amazing. You have to keep investing in you. Make sure that you know how amazing you are, and then make sure the market and the people you work with know that too.
I think that's a very good place to end the conversation today. We link all the resources in the descriptions. I believe you have a very cool video masterclass on how to use AI for product marketers. It's 2-3 hours long. And I think it's very relevant for this conversation. For people who want to engage with you and work with you, Hattie, what's the best way to reach you out?
Yeah, so there's a few ways to find me. So I'm on LinkedIn as Hattie the PMM. But I'd highly encourage you to come to my free live virtual masterclass, all on the 5 biggest career mistakes that product marketing managers make. This applies to other disciplines. So I've had content marketers, growth marketers, demand gen, even product managers join. So anyone can come along. It's free, it's virtual. You can find it on Product Marketers Job. And then I have my Profitable PMM Challenge, which you, Ivan, were on. So yeah, the Profitable PMM Challenge is amazing live 1 week full coaching experience where you can delve deep into what will help you build out your strategic visibility, your profitability, and get your career back on track so you can become promoted, paid, and profitable in everything that you do moving forwards. So also thank you, Ivan, for having me, and thanks for joining on the Profitable PMM Challenge as well. Like, how did you find it before we clock off? How did you find the challenge in the week?
We're having this conversation. It means that I found it useful. Not, I was expecting to learn more about hard skills, product marketing hard skills, but actually it was more about covering the foundations. So as you said, the becoming before doing, which I believe it's a step that several people are missing, and it's what's holding them back, including myself. So a lot of things to cover, to digest, but also the fact that it's a challenge. It's not a course, as you said, that people can buy and then consume in 6 or 10 years. Being forced to start and finish the whole challenge in a few days, you're equipped with lots of additional tools, which I do believe it's very valuable.
Yeah, awesome. And being a director of product marketing as yourself, yes, it's what's fascinating is a lot of people think that they need more tactics and they think that they need more information, and actually they have it all.
Mhm.
It's just about the skill sets that's required in order to be really effective in your job. Because a lot of people are wasting a lot of hours on things that aren't effective. They're doing heads down work, but actually it's not moving them in the right direction. So yeah, thank you, Ivan, again for having me. And yeah, also the AI for product marketing or marketing in general course. Yes, we'll link it down below for anyone who's interested. 3 hours went into that, and there's no cost. So if you want it, the link is down below. So again, thank you for having me. This was great.
No excuses. Thank you, Hattie. Have a good rest of the day.